Now, US President says militant group Hamas and Russia are both out to annihilate democracies, and in an impassioned speech to the nation from the Oval Office. Joe Biden, seeking re-election in 2024, is preparing to push Congress for a massive $100 billion package that includes funding for Israel and Ukraine. Presidents traditionally reserve speeches from the solemn setting of the Oval Office for moments of keen national significance. Fresh from a whirlwind trip to Israel, the 80-year-old Democrat is going all out to win over war-weary voters and hardline Republicans. Biden stated that the stakes are too great for Washington to abandon Ukraine and Israel, and added that the U.S. remains a global guardian for freedom. He also said, and I quote, "America is a beacon to the world still."
Hamas and Putin represent different threats, but they share this in common. They both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy, completely annihilate it. Hamas' stated purpose for existing is the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of Jewish people. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas uses Palestinian civilians as human shields, and innocent Palestinian families are suffering greatly because of them.
Washington is backing Israel in its war with Hamas, even as the Russia-Ukraine war shows no signs of an endgame. Tying together two conflicts an ocean away from the U.S. is a bid by Biden to frame them as part of a bigger struggle to shape the world order and protect Americans at home. Biden had earlier mentioned a global inflection point that's bigger than party or politics. Hard-right Republicans and a growing number of voters are strongly opposed to adding to the nearly $44 billion in security assistance that U.S. has committed to Ukraine since Moscow launched its invasion in 2022. Biden hopes to break the logjam by hitching it to funding for Israel, Taiwan, and the troubled southern border with Mexico, recasting the trio of issues as parts of the same overriding task of ensuring U.S. security. The U.S. president exhorted the Congress to approve urgent military support for Israel and Ukraine, and saying that aid would boost U.S. security for generations. He said while in Tel Aviv that he would ask for Congress for an unprecedented package for Israel's defense this week. And as per reports, the package will include $10 billion in emergency assistance for Israel and $60 billion for Ukraine. Now, the U.S. president spoke to Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky hours before the speech. Biden has also been striking a statesman-like tone on the Israel-Hamas war, with an eye on voters where there is strong support for Israel, even if left-wing Democrats oppose his stance. In Tel Aviv on Wednesday, the U.S. president backed Israel as it gears up for a ground invasion of Gaza after Hamas's attacks killed more than 1,400 people. But he also brokered a deal to get some aid through Egypt into the Gaza Strip. The threat of a wider West Asian conflict, meanwhile, looms in the background. The U.S. has already moved 2 aircraft carriers into the eastern Mediterranean to deter Iran or Lebanon's Hezbollah, both allies of Hamas, from getting involved. Now, for the latest on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sends us this report from New York. Take a look.
President Biden, in his address from the Oval Office, the second since becoming president, made a direct appeal to the American people, saying supporting Ukraine and Israel now will help America for generations to come. He made this speech just one day before he's expected to make an urgent request to Congress for north of $100 billion, not only for aid to Israel and Ukraine, but also Taiwan, and money for the U.S.-Mexico border. During his speech, time and again, the president compared Hamas and Vladimir Putin's Russia with one another, saying while they do pose different threats, they have one thing in common: they want to annihilate a neighboring democracy. The president said that supporting Ukraine and Israel is a matter of national security. The question is whether he was able to articulate that to the American people effectively. During his speech, the president, who's clearly concerned about hate here in America, said that Jewish families and Muslims should not feel hate and discrimination against them. As the president was delivering his speech, it was reported that U.S. forces were attacked in Iraq. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.